Welcome back, everyone, to the AAA, also known as the AAA podcast, where we talk everything from alcoholism to recovery. I'm your host, Jovan, along with
Darren G, how's it going?
yes, and today is a special episode because um, throughout the entire series, there has been the two co-hosts, but today we are interviewing our first guest. So, welcome, mystery guest, if I may say that, before giving any proper introductions. The only thing we'll give away is, of course, my background, where you are currently, where we're reaching you. So, yeah, I guess just welcome to the podcast. You can say hi to everyone at home.
Hello, thanks for having me. It's good to finally be on it after listening for so long.
Oh my goodness, that's so interesting that you're just like so far away, but we're just connected right now.
Yeah. Really shows how far something can reach thanks to the internet. It's great.
So sweet. So, Jesse, let me ask you a question. How long have you been sober for?
I'd say now, coming up 4 years, I think it is, or just over 4 years in August. So, yeah, it's seems like a lot longer actually, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Really? Okay. Well, 4 years is a long time.
Yeah.
So, wow. Yeah, I can imagine that. I'm 3 years sober. Joe?
Yeah, I'm almost two. So it's funny how we're just a step ladder of
Two, three,
sobriety.
four.
Yeah, we all got different years. Yeah.
Nice trickling effect. Yeah, I like that. I was I find that when I was in England, a lot of I mean, I guess it's the same here in Canada too, Joe, if you can
Yeah.
maybe relate, is I found that everything was just very like bar sense. Like it's just everything is a bar. Bars,
Yeah,
bars, 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 bars.
Yeah.
it's kind of like here. It feels like as you're growing up, the normal thing to do is, as you say, just go out to the pub, drink. It's everyone's kind of normal way of, you don't look anywhere else.
Yeah. It's synonymous with just hanging out with your friends. The two things are
Yeah.
like completely intertwined. Yeah, there's no separation.
And as soon as you say you don't drink, you seem like people are like, well, what else are you going to do? But once you do start, you think, well, I don't, what's the point of looking back?
Yeah. And you realize
Totally.
how much more there is in the world, right? Because it's like when I thought of the weekend, it was drinking. And then it was
Yeah.
only when I stopped drinking where I was like, okay, what other things exist in the world? It's like, oh, there's biking, there's, even just playing video games. It's like I literally stopped
Yeah.
playing video games because of my drinking. And then yeah, since I stopped drinking, I started playing video games again. It's very funny. But yeah, there's a million things to do in the world that you can connect with other people with. It just
It's
doesn't
really,
seem that way.
really, it's really interesting how that works because, for instance, yesterday was Friday, it's Saturday today, Saturday afternoon for us,
Hmm.
and I found that like some Fridays, because I'm just, taking it easy, working on just some like business notes, things like that. I'm like, I don't know. I just feel like because we've been almost like encoded in a way to feel like we need to be going out and partying. Like weekends are like for partying or something. Is that strange or
Yeah.
No,
No,
that's
that's
that's that's completely normal. Like,
do you know what I mean? I'm like, oh, I'm just having like a chilled night every Friday night and I'm really okay with it. But then I'm just like, sometimes I just feel like, why do I feel like I'm missing out when I'm really not missing out on much because those nights that I did go out and drink.
I think the internet is getting the better of you. Darren! Well, hey, until we get him back, I'll just add to that note how, yeah, it's ingrained in us societally that the weekend equals drinking, and if you're not going out to bars, you're missing out. It's a classic FOMO compared to like when you're in high school and there was a dance and you didn't go, then everybody was talking about it. Or anything, even like going to like the latest movie. You just feel like you're missing out because you haven't seen it, but it's like it's not that isn't how we should structure society, but that's just how society structured itself, weirdly enough.
oh, I couldn't agree more. It's same with everything. You're not classed as normal if you don't do those things.
Yeah.
You kind of push to one side as somebody strange.
I've had a little bit of issue with it, but it's good. It's connected now. I got a new computer. Everything right now is new, so sorry guys.
No, that's okay. Actually, that's kind of a good segue into our current times how all of us are connecting now through Skype or Zoom or anything like that, and it's all kind
Yeah.
of, we're all learning new technological issues as we get used to this isolated world. Because, well, obviously we would still be reaching out to anyone in England through the internet, but maybe like Darren and I would be in the same room, whereas in this case we're not, even though like we're only a
Yeah,
city
true.
away. Yeah.
True. Yeah.
Um, and I don't know if we would want to jump on this as like a sidebar, but at least for myself, I'm just curious what kind of like norms or cooperation you might have seen over in England with people and how they've been receiving the C-19 or COVID-19 situation. Has it been something that a lot of people have gotten used to, or is it kind of strange over there?
Well, in I hear about the north is seems to
Oh, the
be
North.
locking down again.
Yeah.
But I'm just outside of London, about a 10-minute drive. So down here, it's still really busy. Everyone's kind of acting as normal as they can, but we just have to wear masks when we go into buildings. Um, but it's kind of the unknown. You still don't know what's really happening. But everyone around where I live seems to be all right. And
Yeah. That's
but for
good.
me, not a lot has changed really.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Um,
Do you know what I
is
did hear? Do you know what I
yeah.
did hear though? I did hear that the bars were like a really like an issue there because they were still opened during a certain time that there was the lockdown.
What they've
Is this
done
true?
now is they opened them back up again. All bars and restaurants, and they've shut now. You have to leave by 10 o'clock. They have to shut by 10.
Okay, that okay,
So
yep.
That's better.
yeah, it is. It's kind of crazy though. But I know they are usually open till I don't actually know. I think it may be 12, 1 o'clock in the morning. So it's only a few hours off of the normal closing time. But yeah, we're still waiting to hear what's going to happen because they were talking about completely closing them again.
Right. Yeah.
Mm.
But then it goes into other things like the economy, and we could talk for
Right.
days.
Yeah. Because it's like where is most of the money found? It's in things that people consume on a daily or weekly basis. So
That's
bars
it.
are
Yeah,
definitely one of them. Yeah. Um, but yeah,
100%.
I guess that's so the parallel there with Canada is that, or at the very least Ontario, specifically where we are, the province, the LCBOs did not close. It was like the only essentials that were allowed to stay open as soon as the first lockdown happened was grocery stores and the LCBO, which is insane. It's like just
Correct, yeah.
liquor and food. Those are the two things humanity needs at this time. It's not a
It
luxury item or anything. It's like it's an essential, which is crazy.
was
Mm-hmm.
everyone panic buying at the start of lockdown for you, or
Yes, actually,
Correct,
at least
yep.
at the Costco's and Walmarts of the world. Maybe not so much in the grocery stores where I am, but yeah, no. It was definitely we were seeing a lot of similar things that were happening in America were happening with us, unfortunately.
Oh, like grocery stores were by me were cleaned out like but I had like kind of knew about it prior
Mhm.
and had already stocked my house. So like I was going to the grocery store one like random evening
Mhm.
and the lineups were like outside the door just to like cash out because people were like literally in a pandemic. It was insane.
Yeah,
This was
no?
like
I
at the
they
started.
very
created the
start.
pandemic for themselves by doing that,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, I started using the Amazon Fresh, so it's just a lot easier to ordering from there and getting a delivery straight to our house.
Nice. I don't know if
Yes.
that exists where we are. Do you know anything about
Oh, it
that,
doesn't.
Darren?
I do know what it is because I do drop shipping. So
Oh, okay. Yeah.
it's just basically what it is. It just gets right to your house. You order like fresh food
Wow.
and
Yeah.
all the above, like anything else from Amazon. They're just adding food
Yeah,
to the list.
I mean, I guess that's why the CEO Jeff Bezos became the world's first trillionaire over this COVID pandemic, is
that's
because
it.
of their services
Yeah,
became the only services. So that's how you
exactly. Isn't
become.
that quite interesting how that works out? Like how
Yeah.
now it's the norm to order things online now, where
Right. Yeah.
um, it's quite interesting because you go into a store and I don't know if you guys ever feel this way, but like sometimes when you're touching items in the store, you're like, this feels gross.
Yeah,
Yeah. Pre-pandemic. Yeah. Absolutely. I was like, I don't want to touch anything that's at the front of
Mhm.
of the fruit section because like how many people have like groped that, you know? It's just a general discomfort with how things
Right?
work. Yeah. It's
Crazy.
unfortunate, but yeah. At the very least, the internet was created before this happened, right? We got like a 20, 30-year head start on
Yeah.
being isolated, so it's good. Yeah.
Yeah. The
But
isolation has been rough though, a little bit. Like it's been rough. And I can only imagine for people that drink, like how
what
they
this would,
hang.
yeah, how this would elevate it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Because they've
something.
got nothing. They're bored, so they have nothing else to do. So what do you do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
You
You don't
turn
have to go
drinking
to work.
into day drinking and then just, yeah.
That's it. Gets out of control.
Yeah. It is convenient that all of us happen to not be drinking as soon as this worldwide
Yes.
thing happens. It's one of those things where it's like I it was a situational thing that stopped me from drinking, right? Like I had a breakdown, and if that didn't happen, if life events didn't occur the way that they did, I would still be drinking now. So it's interesting to think of what an alternate universe version of myself would be like handling this situation. I
Really
would just be
interesting.
in my
Yeah.
room daily, just going to town, because I
That
had a whole
wouldn't leave my
method of how
room.
I did it. Yeah.
Do you both still ever think about it like as if it's something you miss or something that you think, oh, I could easily go and do that without getting stuck into it?
I thought that a couple times. I feel like
I've
in the
thought about
beginning.
it 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. For me, it was like in the first year, it was like, I feel like this is something I could, well, like in the first 3 months, I was like, never again. And then I was like, is there a way that I can transition back into casually drinking? But it's one of those things where you just got to come to terms with where it's like, the only reason I drank in the first place before it developed into a problem, like as soon as I was legally allowed to drink, like when I started, it
Hmm.
was to get drunk. There was never a point where I casually drank, ever. Like even when I was
Mm.
15, like I never casually drank. I only binge drank. I only
Correct.
I
Same
only
with me.
drank to get drunk. There was no alternative where I was casually drinking. So there
What
was
age did you
never a
start
case.
drinking?
For me, the problem started when I was 19. Like I had gotten drunk before in high school and stuff, but I had never bought alcohol because you have to be 19 in Canada.
Mm.
So it was only once I was illegally allowed when that it just ramped up because it was like now nothing's restraining me. I don't have to like find someone to buy it for me. So I just for yeah, from 19 to however old I was, I forget. It was 6 years. So I don't know if that makes me 23 or something like that. But no, 25. Yeah, I just drank all the time. Like I think the longest streak I had was 17 days. So I'm sure there are people that have higher streaks than that, but 17 days in a row getting drunk.
I drank every single day drunk. I got drunk every single day for like maybe 3-4 years, maybe.
Where it was
Every
every
single
day.
day.
There
Yeah.
was
Oh
no
yeah.
break where you were too sick you couldn't do it.
Nah. The
You
sick,
still,
like the drugness would help the sickness.
that's true,
That's when
yeah.
you
But
know. That's when you know you have a problem. It's like when it's just in your everyday life. Like it doesn't. It's not essentially that. Say and what I would drink was wine. 100, always just wine, no matter what.
Yeah, just to eat.
Sometimes you would feel like, okay, it doesn't really taste right, but you would still drink it. Like there's certain times where it's like, okay, it's morning time, I have a day off, I'm bored, I'm gonna
yeah,
drink.
yeah,
It would like it's just like weird at the time and all these things. It's just like, why would you do it at this time? Da, da, da.
yeah,
I would still do it. I don't
yeah.
care.
The other thing as well, do you think when you look back and you think about what you were thinking about at the time, you think you're the only one who thinks like that? Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
That
Yeah.
makes
I
sense.
used to think I'm probably the only guy that's doing this right now, and I'm the only one that can handle doing it. Like I'm a functional alcoholic. Or I
Yeah.
at least thought that for the last 2 years, where I was like, I know what I'm doing is alcoholism, but I'm functioning so I can do it. I'm probably the only one who
I
who has a handle on it.
I never had really thought. I know this sounds so strange, but I guess it's like a pride thing. I don't know, and that's probably why I think I change when I drink. Is I've never ever really thought I had a problem.
Yeah.
That's when you know it's like you're. It just it's strange how your mind thinks because it's almost like the alcohol is just clouding it constantly, and that's maybe why because I never really had a moment to think clearly because I was
Yeah.
always, no matter what, when alcohol's in your system, you may be sober ish, but you're still not. say for instance you were to stop drinking for 2-3 weeks, it's a totally different situation than if you were to stop drinking for a day, 2 days. The alcohol is still
Yeah.
in your system, so you're acting still a certain way. Your body's still wanting this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, your body hasn't hit withdrawal yet. So you can go without a day. It's not the same as going without a week. Yeah. You go without a week,
Correct.
you start to get irritated and you feel itchy, like you're missing something. Yeah. It's an entirely different scenario.
Jesse, how about you? Did you
Mm.
constantly drink every day? Was there a time that you stopped? And what essentially kind of was that turning point for you that you were just like, you know what, I'm done. It needs to stop.
I definitely, yeah, it was every single day, and I'll tell you the biggest problem I had was when I tried to fall asleep, and then you think, well, I can't sleep, so I have a drink, and that I know, as hardcore as that sounds, I know if I have a drink, I'll be able to sleep.
Yeah.
So I got to that
100%.
stage, and I knew at the time I was just covering up for something that I was all the thoughts that you have at the time, and you think I'm just going to try and cover it up. I'm going to have a drink because I know as soon as I have a drink, all them thoughts are gone.
Yeah.
And I start feeling like a completely different person, not the person who I hate at the moment. And then the time when I had to stop is I remember standing in my back garden and I didn't fall over as such, but I kind of stumbled and I felt a really bad pain in my chest. So I phoned one of the hospitals and they said to me, come straight in. And they thought it was a heart attack. That's how sort of thing it went. So she said, they ask all the normal questions like how much you drink, do you smoke, do you do this, do you do that? And then when I said, I probably wasn't 100% honest with them. And then after that, I thought I've really got to stop something because this is bad.
Yeah.
I yeah, to be honest with you, and I don't think I mentioned this on the podcast, but I felt not chest pains, but it's right under that lip before your rib cage splits, and that's where the liver is. The liver is right in that spot, and I felt that pain several times where it's just like I would smoke cigarettes until it goes away. That was like a method that I had. I literally like created a thing where if I feel that chest pain after the morning of drinking, I'm like, oh, is that heartburn? Is that something? I don't know what's wrong. I didn't experience it to an
sharp pain.
Yeah, and I didn't experience it where it was like so harsh that I needed to get medical attention, but it was clearly my body being like, you're on the verge of dying and we're trying as hard as we can to keep you going, man. Like, it's not good. But yeah, it's insane. But yeah, I've actually felt that before.
Quite interesting, Jesse. Wow. To the what a situation that had happened to me was I had a seizure. I must have had a seizure. You guys can let me know. I never went to the actual hospital for it, but essentially what ended up happening is I remember I was working for, again, it's like it's nonstop. So you work because I was working in the kitchen at the time. This is all part of like research for me with my business. So I always knew that I had to work in a kitchen too, because I always wanted to own a restaurant. So knew that I had to work in a kitchen and work long, hard hours. That was just my thought mentality at the time. So I would work sometimes like just from morning to like night, where you're working till like 2 a.m. starting at like 9 and you're working till like 2 a.m. And this is happening every day. And that's why you're able to constantly drink, and because it's keeping you kind of going. In that situation as well, you're rewarded with drink. So when you do well, you get alcohol. So a blend of this, now me coming home late at night and now binge drinking more at home. I was with my sister just shooting the crap. We're just talking, yada, yada. And then next thing you know, I wake up and she's like yelling at me, like just like calling my name, about to call like she's literally about to call the emergency, but I just had woken up. As soon as I wake up, I taste my mouth like it's metal. And I instantly just piss myself. Like I just instantly just fully like, I don't know, would that be called a bowel move? I just fully just piss myself.
Yeah.
And went instantly to the bathroom, washed my mouth, all my like tongue and like kind of like a little bit of like my cheeks and my gums felt so weird. And yeah, that's when I kind of knew that I was like, okay, I kind of maybe have an issue where like, okay, like just seeing my sister's face, I felt so bad for her because it's like, I don't know, that was the moment where I was like, okay, there's something that's like not right here.
Mm-hmm.
But I still drank after that.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, that was the same with me with the chest pains. I still drank. That wasn't the breaking point, but yeah, it's insane how we'll continue doing something, right? It's insane.
Even though you know
You
deep
know it's
down.
wrong. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
The,
you'll
the,
come up with reasons. You compartmentalize. Yeah.
yes, that's it. Yeah. With the like your inner voice, you talk to it.
Yeah. How I describe it is it's like being a Russian spy. It's like you'll
Yeah.
you'll you'll have your normal life where you love your family, and then a node in your brain will just switch as soon as you go into assassination mode, and you'll just like, yeah, that's like me. It's like I'll love my family, my friends, and hang out with them, and then the second I get the chance, or it's this thing that's just in my head where I'm like, okay, well I'm drinking tonight, so how am I going to do that? So it's like I'll be hanging out with my friends, and then I'll find a way to come up with an excuse to get away from them or something, and I'll make sure to plan beforehand to like get the however many beers I'm going to have in my room and like tuck it away somewhere so it doesn't like rouse suspicion. And then I would just do that all the time. It's like a religion. It's like every day I'm drinking, or at least trying to get drinks to my room to prepare for like the next day to drink. And like that was just my brain all the time. And I just made it a thing where it was like, no, but you either don't think about it or you compartmentalize. And you go, well, I'm going to stop one day. Like I'm just doing this now because I'm young. And yeah, it's insane. And it takes breaking. It takes an extreme scenario to finally shake you out of it. Like it's ridiculous.
It does, really does take an extreme situation in that those situate like for me it was drinking and like I used to drink and drive and that was really I was so ashamed one morning I woke up and I just couldn't remember anything.
Mhm.
I've never felt so much shame in my life. Like it just felt like so awful and I think that Jesse, going back to what you were saying, if you'd like to share, do you feel that there was something that maybe had triggered you or maybe in some sort of situation where that you felt now I'm unable to sleep and deal with certain things. Like for an example, for me, my mom passed away very suddenly. And then that's when I noticed that after that point that my life really did start really changing. And alcohol then somehow worked its way in and that was my basically my coping mechanism
Mm-hmm.
until I was basically able to deal like that moment where I was like, you know what, I'm so ashamed for drinking and driving. I have to sit here and now for the rest of my life just deal with this, like really come to terms with it and
Mm-hmm.
find out who I am inside. Could you elaborate if you
Yeah,
like?
no, definitely. So just before, I'd say when I was about 20 until 25, I'd like to think that I was trying to be something that I wasn't. So I was brought up a certain way, didn't like that. So as I moved out, and then I was kind of forced into a situation in a relationship, say, and I pretended to be something that I really didn't want to be, but at the time it felt like I should do it. So, and as it went through the years, and I got to about 20, I'd say I was 25, 26, and then something clicked, and I thought I can't keep pretending this. I'm still young. Something's got to click. So then, as I'd made the decision to break up in the relationship, it just sort of went really nasty, as if I'm the bad one. So the whole family on my side turned against me because I was the bad one. And then I felt so on my own for the first time in my whole life for 26 years. And you kind
Yeah.
of think, well, I really don't know what to do. And I need something to, like, I don't know, get this out of my head and not be in reality anymore.
Yeah.
Get into a different world as such, as crazy as that sounds. And then
Not
when
at
you have a
all.
drink, and it kind of calms everything down and makes everything feel like it's not there for that short period of time. Then you wake up in the morning
Mhm.
and you have to go and do your normal thing, come back from work, and then you have a drink again, and it covers it again, almost like
Yeah.
that blanket coming over you to, make you feel like somebody's there.
Yeah. It's
Well
used
put.
as a surrogate for a relationship.
That's it.
Yeah.
Very, very well put. Yeah.
And actually, yeah, I guess coincidentally, I had a similar thing where not with a relationship, but just a lack of a relationship. I feel like I was alone from 20 to 24 or 25. And so I was just single and alone. I wasn't necessarily trying to look for someone and failing. I just was alone and I just felt lonely. And I got daddy issues, like he was just growing up in general. He was awful to me in particular because like I
Yeah.
wasn't as into sports as my other two brothers. and he like he would show that in like passive aggressive ways, right? Like he just would not spend
Yeah.
any time with me, and just be upset at me all the time. Like he never actually showed me any kind of love. So um, yeah, that kind of fucked me up, I guess. And it was one of those things where as soon as I was able to drink and as soon as I started doing it, because also alcoholism kind of runs in my family, like my great grandfather was an abusive alcoholic, and it was one of those things where I had this biological predisposition for it, where as soon as I got drunk, the feeling it gave me was like the same feeling someone would have if they were like always meant to be a singer or a dancer or like a horseback rider, or they're just naturally talented at archery or like playing the
Yeah,
flute. You know how people have those things that are like they're naturally talented at. And it sounds
that's
awful, but
like
it's like for me it was drinking. I was like as soon as I drank, I was like meant to do this. Like it feels so good. Like it was the most amazing feeling in the world. And then I just never wanted to stop, and it became like my thing, my like religion or whatever. And it's insane. And it was just took a lot for me to
awesome.
break out of that, right? I mean, yeah,
No, definitely.
it's
I
insane.
can relate to that. That's like sort of put perfectly.
Right, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Really, really is like like it's so both of what you're saying is like so relatable. It's almost like some sort of like loneliness and pain, emptiness. Like even like I was thinking about it just at the beginning of the week. I'm like, there's because I was thinking about the podcast coming up. I'm just thinking there's why did I is this some sort of like for me I think it was like an emptiness of a loss, like that loss that I found. Like I didn't know how to cope with that loss.
Mhm.
And Jesse, another question I have for you relating on this topic is kind of like with family, do you find that it is essentially something where it's like encoded into your genetics, almost like into your family tree, where you've had previous aunts or uncles that have had an issue with alcohol?
I grew up with my mum and dad never drinking,
Oh, no kidding. Yeah.
so yeah, so
Same with
it
mine.
was so it was never really like a thing. Like when we go to family parties or at Christmas, my mum and dad would never drink.
Same with
But I
mine.
never thought, I never really thought anything of it. But I think when I look, everyone else was, but my mum and dad. And then as I grew up and I asked them, well, I asked my mum, she just
Yeah.
said that she'd rather not drink and look after us because I had three sisters. It was me and three sisters. So
Okay.
yeah, I don't know really where it came from. I think it's when I was 18. Obviously, we can drink at 18
Right.
and go into even when I was 16 actually. So we could go into the pubs and you go and play snooker or pool and you have drinks then. So even from a young age, it's kind of like a normal thing.
Yeah.
And that, like you said, Joe, when you get drunk, you get to go to drink. You don't drink casually at that age. You go to get drunk.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's
It's
the goal. There's a goal in mind. There's never a situation
exactly
where you're going to have 2 or 3 beers. Yeah.
drink as fast as you can, as much as you can, and who can get the most
But
drunk.
why do you gentlemen think that that is the mindset? Because essentially, when I stopped drinking, I would ask multiple people why they are just drinking and why they are just drinking per se one glass or one beer. And all their answers were basically the same as I just want to have one or two drinks. And I, as an alcoholic, did not understand that concept.
Yeah. I think in theory I can understand it. And actually, so yeah, I do have a question relating to what the situation is like in England, at least for the AA culture. But before getting into that, I just want to mention how I find animals, like the similarities between human and animals, very interesting because everybody's, at least humanity in the past has always separated a very clear line between humans and animals. But we've seen like enough things now, like documentaries of monkeys that'll steal people's drinks and get drunk off it, or they'll find like those centipedes in the jungle and like squeeze them to make their juices come out, like their toxic juices to try and scare away animals, and then drink it to like get toxified and drunk off of that. And it's this weird difference between control and intentionally not wanting control. And it's a strange psychological mix of the two, where it's
Very
like some
strange.
people want control, so they'll only have a drink or two because it can give them a little buzz, but they still want complete control. And then there's other people And this is not a conscious thing at all, but anyone who wants to get drunk, you're losing control intentionally. You're making it so that everything becomes slurry and you're just in a different state of consciousness. And it's about releasing yourself, releasing a hold on yourself, essentially.
Yes.
Reality.
Yeah. Yeah,
Because
it's escapism, I
that's
guess.
the main thing is there's it's almost like in my everyday life I love to be like to know that I have control like of certain things like, and then when you mention that I'm thinking, but when I'm drinking it's almost like that's why I'm drinking, because I almost don't want to have control of those things anymore. I do not want to think about those things. I just want to like relax. I just want to chill. I just want to
Have
get
it be
wasted.
gone.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I just
yeah,
want to like
exactly.
I
Just have
want
it all
that
go away.
brain, that mindset to go away. That
Yeah.
control
Yeah.
to go away.
Mhm.
And that's the part where I don't understand how people drink just
Casually, yeah.
casually.
Maybe it's deep down they're not expressing how they feel, but it could be covering up something. Like they might hate their job, they might hate their family life, and that's their way of escaping. Like people who do drugs, they do it to escape something, their thoughts. And if I ask somebody who does drugs or who smokes a lot of cannabis or something, and you say, well, why do you do it? They say, because it helps my mental state. But it's like, well, you're covering it up.
Yeah, it's not helping necessarily. It's just
No.
burying it.
Yeah,
Very good
exactly.
point.
You just
Very good point.
just burying it until the next day, and then you wake up in the morning and you probably feel 10 times worse than what you did before the day before.
Yeah. It's very strange how we cope, how humans cope with life. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the worst thing about males, I'd say, as such, is you have to. The older generation, I'd say, my dad's generation, is to put on a hard front. Don't express your feelings.
Yeah.
Don't show any weakness. So men don't generally talk about their problems, do they? They don't share because they're meant to be the one that stands up and looks after everyone.
I think
And
Yeah.
I think
that
that's
is 100% true.
I think that's where a lot of people go wrong, where they don't express it. They're just like, no, I'm fine. But deep down, they could want to talk about it.
Mhm.
I really, really do believe 100. For me, that's 100% true. You mentioned you have sisters. I was the eldest of three, and I have a brother and sister. And my parents worked a lot to provide for us. Like they were just constantly working always. So I was always watching them and taking care of them and making sure they were always good. And that was, again, it's always kind of having that little bit of control. And then it's like you just want to forget about all that stuff.
Yeah. It's a
And once
combination of both things, right?
yeah, exactly. So very, very interesting.
Mhm.
Joe, do you want to get back to what you were going to mention?
Yeah. So um the term AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, was a foundation, a nonprofit, non-denominational, whatever, that started in America, and obviously the quickest thing it spread to was Canada, but then it also spread across the entire world. And I was just curious, Jess, if you would want to hit on what that culture, if not AA, at the very least, recovery from general addiction, what that looks like in the UK, or just in the London district specifically, what that looks like for you, or at least where you are.
To be honest with you, I don't. That's not the right answer. I don't actually know.
Right? Yeah, that's okay.
I know,
That's the same as Darren. Yeah, he's never been part of that
yeah,
world. Yeah.
no, because it gone back to, instead of looking for help like that, I went for help. So you go through the doctors. We've got the NHS service, so it's a completely free service. You call up and you say, like, I want to speak to somebody about a problem I have, and then they'll put you through this course, and it just goes through cognitive biases.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Um, and the only thing, like, you start having these conversations. It starts off one a week, and the first question they ask you, do you have any suicide thoughts? If you say no, personally, I feel like they just think, okay, no problem at all. Now just log on to your portal, and there's another couple of videos to watch and a few things to fill out. So unless you say that you're having suicidal thoughts, they're not. It's to say they're not bothered about you is probably a bit harsh, but I'd say you're at the bottom of the list.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it.
I do know somebody who has gone to classes where you sit and you talk to each other and things like you see it in the films and things. But they say that's the same thing. If you're not saying you have suicide thoughts, they say that it's probably not worth coming back next week.
Oh my God, that's awful. What?
So
Jeez.
you log onto your portal again,
Yeah.
and to be honest with you, when I came out of all of that, I started. I had one business, and I started another, and that's what kind of I thought. You know what? I'm just going to put my whole focus into this because all this other thing is doing again is covering up for all the problems and all the thoughts that you have in the first place.
Yeah.
So it's yeah.
It's strange,
And
but you're still able to make it through. I mean, 4 years is a
oh
long
yeah,
time. Did you end up forming your own support system with your friends, family, anything like that?
not really. It's basically just me and my it's fiance now. We
Oh,
just
hey,
we
nice, congratulations.
cheers. So
That's
she
Yeah,
just helps me more than anything. Like I don't
yeah,
think
that's
if I
amazing.
didn't have her, she kind of gets me, and I know that she's been through a lot with me. When I've probably gone a bit, my anxiety goes a bit crazy still now to this day.
yeah.
If I, it sounds really mad, but if I'm tired, it's a lot worse. But it's the whole feeling. My biggest feeling is feeling trapped. That's what the problem I have now, and I don't know if that comes off of being after drinking. Where the anxiety comes from, and
Yeah,
Yeah. Like the anxiety is so high. I don't know. I don't know. It's just like I guess it's because again it's that like control thing where I think it's something like with just something I just find that sometimes I just cannot stop thinking. So I'm like, I need some sort of like escape, and that's where alcohol really was a big part of my life. But I realize now for myself, I've just put my energy in different things so that I can still kind of get the same results. So I've like I we were mentioning at the beginning of the podcast, I'm pretty sure Joe was saying that like you just start to discover new things like bike riding and hiking and things like this and trying different things. Like from the moment that I stopped drinking is when I really kicked everything into gear for my business. Now I've run my business for a year and some now, and I'm about to start another one.
yeah, it's
you
exciting
know,
stuff. Yeah,
the biggest thing that's helped me. It took me a long time to realize it was accepting that anxiety is a normal thing. The more you try to grow, the worse that anxiety gets, and
Mhm.
having problems in life as well. It's just a normal thing. You have to accept you're going to have them.
Yeah.
Before I had this mindset is that I don't want problems. I don't want this. I want everything to run smoothly. But in the real world, if you want to do better and grow as such, you need to accept that this is going to happen. You accept you're going to have crazy thoughts. But it's how you
Yeah.
deal with those thoughts more than not wanting them.
Mhm.
100%. And I think, again, that's really well put because their thoughts are always there. And that's why it's easy to fall into certain habits because you want to get rid of some of those thoughts. And I think it's just finding that balance or medium of what you can put that energy and those thoughts into to relieve you of that. Um,
Exactly.
those is I don't sometimes it's stress. It could just be so many different things for a different person, right? So let's just say it's stress, for instance, right? If you're stressed out because you can't finish this per se, that's normal. That happens. It
Yeah,
Yeah.
is what it is, you know?
yeah, it's a combination of managing your expectations, right? Because it's like when you want to escape, well, first to escape, like escapism is just a part of human nature. Everybody does it. That's why plays exist in movies and music and stuff like that. It's to distract yourself from whatever your daily task is, and that's existed from the very beginning. Our ancient ancestors just beating the drum and telling stories and that kind of stuff. It's just forms of entertainment that exist to carry us away to a different place. There's nothing wrong with that. I feel like people who have addictions like ourselves, but then also other more abstract addictions, whether that's like a chocolate addiction or something, or addicted to working out, right? Like there can be different forms of neuroses that come with the human condition of being anxious and depressed. I feel like those are two things that everybody has in
Correct.
different levels, but yeah, we found a way to cope through alcohol, and it's a destructive force, And luckily, the three of us were able to escape it before, it took us. And now we're finding other ways that we can cope with our general life issues of anxiety and everything else and stress. But now it's with a lot healthier ways, like with hobbies and stuff, right? Like for me, it's
Correct.
aside from this podcast, it's any other form of creativity. Like I love like writing stories and making YouTube videos and all that fun stuff. So that's my new
It's
alcohol.
amazing. Like Joe I have your books and stuff. Like it's amazing. Like
Yeah, and
it's
I've written
you're
books too.
so
Yeah.
yeah. Like it's insane how much can like your brain will let you do creative wise. Like that's the one thing. Like that's really the one thing that like this, for example, if it's a Saturday afternoon, it's a little later in the evening for Jay, but I just feel like how like it's interesting how we could easily just be like kind of a day drunk right now because there's not
Yeah.
much to do. But creative wise, we have built something right now where we're on a certain amount of episodes. We
Yeah.
now have our first guest. Like
Yeah.
these things wouldn't happen if we were constantly uh okay. And what's so interesting too was when I was drinking, I always would think I would love to have a podcast.
Oh, no kidding. Yeah, yeah. You're thinking even back
You know what I
then.
mean? I'd
Yeah.
love to just
Nice.
be like, have a podcast. You always hear things that people, you always wonder, how are these people doing certain things?
Yeah.
It's because
How do they have the time to do it?
they've
Yeah.
really put
Yeah.
the time to do it.
Hmm. Yeah.
And it's hard to do that when I was mentioning prior that I was working and being drunk 24/7. There's no in between for any sort of creativity, positivity.
Yeah, that was my mindset too. Like when I'm just working labor jobs, because that's what I was doing most of the time, right? I would start work at like 6 or 7 a.m. and then work until 4:30 or, anywhere up to 6. And then the second I get back, I gotta wind down. So I drink. And so months will just half a year would disappear and I wouldn't know where it went. Versus now I'm doing so many different things, right? Even if I get into a steady job, which I might be doing this winter, at the very least, I'm still producing content. I'm still performing activities that I love. It's like I can look back and know where all of that time of my life has gone. It's not a
Yeah.
mystery. It's not like it just disappeared in the wind and every day's the same. It's like, I'm at least happy looking back. I think that's also a big difference between having an addiction or feeling like you're suffocating under the weight of everything and trying to escape it is when you look back, if you can go like, yeah, generally that's good. I feel like I've achieved something. Like you can actually see a progress bar in your life going
Yeah.
up.
It's
Yeah.
it's very, very true. What can I ask you both a question? Would you both find on that topic, do you find that society and kind of the world in general kind of like you mentioned even to Joe how like the LCBO was open during the whole pandemic and
Mhm.
do you find that society kind of shapes us to be almost like go to work really long hours, be very tired, have a drink, come home, and kind of numb your mind with that drink a little bit so that you don't really have the time and energy to put aside for those creative aspects of to be like of your life to put out there. Like an example would be like on YouTube you're constantly seeing ads of like I just started a cookie business or like blah, 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 and it's like
Mhm.
a lot of these people are not they don't have any business, they don't have any, they're just at home watching YouTube, they're watching Netflix all day
Yeah.
long, and you're wondering, would you guys agree or disagree?
Well, it's a combination of two things, right? Society forms itself, but then also society is formed by money, higher influence, corporations and stuff, right? If you normalize alcohol in movies or at least smoking, right? Smoking was kind of incentivized in the early, 19th century and 20th century. And then once the push kept happening by non-smokers in office and in higher places of power, then we started seeing it less in film and TV and it was less advertised. So that you can see directly. But other things like alcohol, it's hard to say if it's necessarily like a conspiracy theory or if it's a combination of like a little bit of, yeah, they're influencing things way too much with advertising versus society itself wants to drink. So they're just meeting that market niche. So for me, I'd say it's a bit of both. I wouldn't it's all in one direction or the other. But yeah, it's just unfortunate that lives can be swallowed up and years can disappear on people and they don't know where it went. Yeah. But what about you, Jesse?
With the whole society thing, I could go on for days, but I don't agree with the way you're treated at school. Is you have to learn a certain criteria, do it again when you leave, and at the age of 16, you should you should know everything you want to do for the rest of your life. To then come out of school, be controlled by a certain time, listen to a bell that tells you to go there, tells you when to go to lunch, tells you when you need to have dinner, when you go to bed.
Yeah.
And then you go into a job that does the exact same thing until, in the UK, it's 67 now. You work up to until you can retire.
Okay, yeah.
And then what have you got left?
67. Yeah, wow. Yes, it's so true. Yeah,
It was more direct in the 1950s where it's like, yes,
Wow.
it's it's industrial revolution. And so people
Yeah.
are treated like literal cattle where they're just sent into a factory to work until they die versus now there's a little more freedom, but that system is still in place from
still in
70 years
place,
ago.
yeah.
So it's like if society has changed, which it clearly has now thanks to the internet and just everything, conveniences at large, we should change the policies and the system of the educational system and stuff. So it is kind of silly that we're still using this kind of dystopian, scary looking system where, yeah, it's all about getting you to work, in a way where it's like you hear the bell, you go, and you're treated like cattle, basically.
It's very, very interesting because, like, for instance, as I work with a lot of businesses where they've spent almost their whole life just getting this business started,
Right, yeah, just getting the funds to even start to do what they want to do.
Yeah, and it's just I had to remember it a while ago back in the day when I first had like my first job that wasn't like family. It was like, okay, you're clocking in, you have like a paycheck. And was working I was working almost full time. You can't work full time, but I was in school at the time. But you're working as many hours as you basically can. You'll take any shift you can because I knew that I had the goal of I want to get my license, and the time that I get my license, boom, I can drive,
Yeah, get a car.
have
Right,
insurance,
yeah.
list jazz. So when we come around to my dad letting me know how much the insurance will be and the car, I really was I think that's the point where I realized that I will be a businessman because I couldn't believe how they were paying me so little, but then the insurance was so high on top of the car being, and I was like, but I'm only 16. He's like, you just got to get a better paying job.
It's like, what? As a
I was like,
teenager? Like,
what?
that's
This doesn't
what?
make any sense.
Yeah.
It's like everything is just kind of set up in a way for me. I found like it's almost set up for you to fail. So it's like I'm watching these things on TV and things like this, and I'm just so envious, and I'm so like, you know what? Let me just drink because I can't deal with this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, to end the podcast, and this is something that you can pass on and we can have a better final note, but Jesse, is there any plug that you might have for like what's the current business that you're doing? Where do you find yourself as far as work goes?
Currently trying to grow the marketing agency 4Ways.
Oh, yeah, nice. Yeah.
So the full aim to that is to keep growing that. Obviously, due to Corona, it's gone a bit downhill.
Right, yeah, it has its own challenges. Yeah,
people don't want to spend money, but that is sort of the main goal, and then allow me to sort of be able to work from home, not have to, get up and go and get a normal job as such if it was to fail. Is that where we were going? Sorry, with the
No, yeah, just the general life situation. Yeah.
So that's the overall goal for that, really.
Nice. Yeah. I feel like I'm the same, just not in marketing. It's like trying to work in the film industry and just be able to write, but I feel like that's going to be a long, long road. Like for the last year, I had not been working a regular job, just trying to work contract gigs and stuff for commercials, short films, anything like that. But as winter approaches and the season's going to slow down, even though it barely existed this year because of COVID, all the restrictions, it just opened up in September, and already the season's dying because winter's fast approaching in Canada. I'll have to start working a regular day job again, but then hopefully, life just keeps going. I don't feel bad about it because so long as I have the expectation of it's seasonal and I'm still moving in the right direction,
Yeah.
It's just financial gains that I'm going for right now. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
keep doing you.
Mhm.
Anybody listening right now, don't feel if you're in a certain situation that you feel like I was mentioning that I felt envious of certain things. Never. Those are the seven deadly sins, or that's what they are. They're seven.
That's
They're
one.
seven deadly
Yeah.
sins. They
Yeah,
will
they'll
eat
take
you
you.
alive. So there's
Mhm.
never ever time that you should feel envious of anybody because everybody's story is different and everybody has a piece of pie in
Yeah.
the world that's for them. Okay, so just do you and just know that you're doing the best you can for yourself. That's all that really matters,
Yeah, that's right. And no
right?
matter
Ending
where
on a
you
good
are
note.
in the world, that's another thing too. It's make the best of your current situation, and yeah, always know that your story isn't the same as anyone else's. And if you see someone that you might be envious of, it's like when you're a kid and they say if you're nervous speaking in front of a class, you just got to picture whatever, right? It's like, if you see someone who's super rich, you got to imagine they're miserable. Because
Yeah,
like,
I'm just saying that. Not we're not saying that all rich people are miserable, but because I plan to be really rich. But
yeah.
We
it's
will
just
be.
more of the do what makes you happy and like
Yes,
really
that's what matters, not
don't yeah
comparisons. Yeah.
really just it's so
That's the
interesting
end goal,
because
isn't it? Being happy. That's
yeah
everyone's end goal,
That's
surely.
that's the meaning of life. Yes, it's what's the point of being successful? To be
when I
happy. That's
when
the
I
ultimate
first
goal.
started my
Exactly.
business, he
Yeah.
taught me that literally. When I first started my business, he really did help me on that aspect of is the money really worth being that unhappy and stressed out or like you know what I mean? Sometimes
Hmm.
it is because you're that you can't pay rent, so sometimes it is, but let that be a lesson learned for future where
Yeah.
know your worth. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like know your worth. Know what really sets you off, what really doesn't, and what really can you can learn from that situation. Where now I know that hey, I don't really want to be putting my time and effort into someone that doesn't appreciate me, and that goes with any situation, any situation.
Yeah.
Because as soon as, sorry, just a quick one. If as soon as a client starts paying you, they all of a sudden think they own you as such, so they can call you whenever. Do it
Yeah.
when you're a small business, and they think they can ring you at all hours of the day, but you can put hours on your day, so it's still 9 till 5 or whatever it is. Don't ring me out of
Mhm.
those hours because that's my hours I work. You're paying me for that time.
Mhm.
Yep.
I remember speaking to you, Darren, about a client you had.
Yeah. It was by
It was
far
tough.
like it was tough, and it just those are times where you would think, you know what, I need a drink right now, but
Oh
no.
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah.
Those are the times where you really sit down and then now put that brain to work and say, deal with that stress, deal with those humps in the road, deal with those pricks in the bush, because once you heal, man, you're so strong after. It's like
It's
you can't.
growing. You get better from it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
again, ending on a good note, guys. That was
Hmm.
literally. I feel great. Like that was awesome.
Yeah.
yeah.
Happiness is the key, right?
Yeah.
That's it.
Escapism
That's a
is
good note
good
to
so
end
long
on.
as it doesn't destroy you. Yeah. And it's just about being happy. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
So
great.
until next time, I guess, right?
Yeah, yeah, we'll come back.
Thanks for
And thank you
having me.
so much. Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's amazing. Amazing first guest. Thanks for being with us.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Pleasure
really
coming on.
appreciate it, Jesse. Really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And hopefully we can have you again and again sometime soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. Whenever you
Yeah.
want to,
Yeah, absolutely.
you know where I am anyway.
All right.
Yeah, that's
Sounds
right.
good.
Yeah, we got you. Yeah. Okay. So until next time, we'll see you
Take
guys.
it easy, guys.
Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye bye.
Cheers.